watch it on tape, because we have public access here, so
Okay.
I'm not sure if he didn't get the memo or if he just had something going on today.
Well, it's already 8:02,
Yeah,
so we'll get started.
okay.
Good morning. It's 8:02 a.m., Monday, July 21st. We're at City Hall, and with a quorum of members present, I will be calling the Capital Improvement Program Committee to order. This is our second of two presentations for capital improvement projects that the committee is looking at this year. And today we'll be listening to presentations from Police, Parks and Recreation, and Public Works. So our first order of business on our agenda is the CIP presentation from the Police Department. And, we have a few representatives, Chief Barnes, and it looks like Deputy Chief.
Oh, I'll take Deputy Chief. No, Captain Ben Graham.
I'm sorry.
Thanks for the promotion. Appreciate it. Well, good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to the CIP request that talks about kind of a modernization of the police department. And, I have the joy of living in District 4, just a couple blocks away from where we are right now in the East Hill Historic District, Gary, that I know you're aware of. And I was reminded recently of what it takes to sustain a home for 100 years. Ours recently turned 100 years of age, and just a couple years ago, it was an air conditioner. And then it was my furnace, and now we're in the process of quoting out a roof. And if you haven't quoted out a roof recently, they're pretty expensive. And like our homes, the building that houses the police force follows a similar cycle. Every 20 to 30 years, you're having to reinvest in your home. And we're not alone, because the PD is reaching that 30-year mark, and we're at the point where some big ticket repairs and some reinvestment are not only optional, but they're necessary. Now, just for some context, the PD was first occupied back in 1998, and at that time we had 76 full-time employees. Today, we're at 94, which is an increase of 18, or 24% increase in personnel over the last 3 decades. So the building has served us well, but it's starting to show its signs of age as well as its limitations, because while our staffing has increased, the footprint of the PD has not. So this particular CIP request would authorize us to begin planning for more of a phased modernization effort, starting with professional estimates in 2026. So some of the updates are already underway, really by necessity. The HVAC system, for example, has failed, and Leo and his team are working very hard to get that system replaced, which is a big ticket expense, over $1 million. Beyond that, though, we're seeing some wear across the board. For example, if you just walk into the employee or the public entrance, you would see wear on the flooring, and I think first impressions matter, not only to the public but also to our employees. If you go into some of our interview rooms and our bathrooms, you would see wallpaper beginning to tear off the walls. You'll see some ceiling tiles in different areas that are stained and dirty from years of use. If you go down in our fitness room, you would see that the rubber floors are beginning to wear and tear and are unsafe in certain places. And then even our bathrooms need some refresh fixtures and finishes. So I would argue that these aren't just cosmetic improvements. They're overdue needs in a 24/7 building that sees continuous use for the last 3 decades. Now, in terms of space, the building was designed for a department that is no longer there. Mr. Wadinsky was there 30 years ago, but a lot has changed over the last 30 years. And I don't know if you'll be able to see some of the pictures. I provided 20 to 30 pictures of some of the things that I'm talking about right now, but if you haven't seen them, what you would see is that our detectives, for example, are now in 6 by 8 foot cubicles in a footprint that's about 480 square feet, which is an improvement from where they were working, but it's still not ideal. Our professional staff, they're up front and share 5 different workstations, but the 5th one we have put in the corner of that room where the copier used to be. And so that's not really ideal for that employee as well. Some of our office space has been taken over by equipment that's necessary, like our body-worn cameras, but then also other supplies for the unhoused, supplies for victims. And then our mailroom, as with the increase in staff, we're at capacity. You go into our locker rooms, and we're at capacity there as well. We're actually installing half lockers now in the hallway, where in order to facilitate some of our CSOs and our additional sworn staff. And then storage is tight throughout as well, which leads to some cramped and cluttered spaces. So these issues, they impact our efficiency, and frankly, while I think it's unmeasured, they impact our ability to attract and retain talent as well, which is, I think, a core objective of the city's strategic plan. So this request is not for a flashy new building. It's just about preserving and maintaining one of the city's most critical assets. And I think it aligns with some of the goals that you would see outlined, for example, in our infrastructure preservation and workforce development. And importantly, we're not asking for construction funds today. What we're asking for is really the go-ahead to begin some planning and work in 2026 so that we can develop more of a responsible, phased approach that gives some consideration to other big projects as well. For example, what is going to happen with our fire department, Central Station. I think those things need to be think about. So because there's too many unknowns, I can't necessarily give you figures and what this all is going to look like. But what is known is that we need to begin planning today for the next 20 and 30 years that's ahead of us. So in summary, our facility has served us very well for the last 30 years, and with your support, we want to ensure that it remains a professional, safe, and functional environment for our employees, but also for the public. And this would allow us to begin kind of a consultation process with engineers and designers. We would likely complete a facility utilization study, which would help reveal the right solution for the city. And I hesitate to estimate what that would cost, but when I looked at some of the preliminary numbers, a utilization study could range anywhere from $50,000 to $75,000, depending upon what we receive. For example, is it a basic space assessment, or is it a full facility study, or is it a study with some conceptual designs thrown in there as well? So, like I said, we're at that 30-year mark, and just like your homes, it's time to reinvest to this building to keep it going for the next 20 to 30 years. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you do have on this particular request.
Alder Rasmussen?
Thank you.
It is a little bit difficult to score this if we can't understand the money.
Yeah.
So, and it's certainly not a flashy new building, knowing that if we at some point are able to move forward with Firehouse Number 1, it's not a flashy new building. You're poised to inherit a not so flashy old building.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding that how those two things fit together and become one cohesive facility for you certainly makes sense. I think we at least need a guess on the money, though. So, if we're thinking that on a utilization study, we're looking at upwards of 50 to 75, if we can use that figure, I think, because then open-ended, it's really hard to score.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to bring up the same point, and I'm thinking of a couple of the last facility studies we've done for, say, like Public Works.
They're expensive.
Yeah, pretty close to the $50,000 mark,
Yeah.
at least. So,
Well, and I mean, even if we use 50, I mean, that'd be the confines within which some consultant would have to work, but I feel like we need to put a pin in a number for the purpose of scoring. The other thing I noticed is that our paper scoring sheets don't include this project. They only include 3 projects for PD, which are ballistic shields, crash reconstruction, and event safety barriers. So
Yeah.
some of the other stuff isn't on these sheets. We're going to have
Right.
to build.
I think that is because they had no dollar amount, we didn't know if they were supposed to be scored for this year either. So we can get those added. Some of these things, and we can get you the extra pictures. We'll email those to you. But like with the tiles, I mean, some of that is more cosmetic that facilities should be able to
Well, it is facilities.
estimate the square footage and the cost of a ceiling tile and get us some costs on those.
Well, and they have an entire
that
section
seems like
about
almost the
facility
internal
maintenance, right?
job
So
that
when we needed carpet
you don't
in
need
there last time, it
professional
came in
help with.
from facilities, the request. So some of these renovations, much like the renovations that we did at Firehouse Number 1 to kind of, hobble that along with the partitions and some of the work that we had done before on doors and that, that all came in from facilities. I guess it doesn't matter where it came from, but we have to know whose budget it lies in. To me, it seems like it's a facility expense and that it would rest in that budget. But, you know, I guess if we were going to use 50,000 as a guess here, that at least helps us put a score to this then for next time.
Oh,
mean-
so Leo is saying he thinks 60,000 we should put in.
So I had engineers come to do this facility, and they quoted me for the outside just for the outside of the building.
So I think it's important while Leo's on his way up here, you know, the challenge to us was not necessarily what do we need money for next year, but to be thinking over the next 5 to 10 years to be able to plant those seeds so it's not a surprise to the council or the community at what our needs are. And the reality of our facility as we start look at those things that are aging and we start being reactive instead of proactive on some of those, reactive leaves us this entire summer without air conditioning as we're reactive to waiting until our air conditioner goes down. So if you go to my office right now, it's a balmy 77 degrees in my office. And that's what our staff is dealing with. So the ability to utilize our facilities budget and make the changes that Captain Graham has discussed, we would just be reactive to, here's the wallpaper that's falling off, let's fix wallpaper 1 year, and oh, now we have carpet that's pulling up. The quantity of the things that really need upgrading is what led us to believe this needed to be a CIP project. And I think before we start I think what our hope here from the committee is one, to inform you, but two, to get some direction or thoughts on whether, number one, this belongs in CIP, and if it does, before we invest a tremendous amount of staff time in trying to get those numbers and projects for you. If it's not something that makes it anywhere near the top of the priority list, I'd rather the staff use their time on other projects. Here, you can talk money.
Alder Rasmussen?
Thank you. I guess just to follow up, here's where I come in on this facility and the struggles that we've had with Firehouse Number One. You know, we at one point invested $100,000 in that building just to address some of the space issues and the office space things and the partitions upstairs and get the bathroom functioning in the upstairs and whatnot, because we knew that we were going to financially need to hold that building for a while. And I think the situation that we find ourselves in money-wise when it comes to debt and capital work is we're going to have to probably earmark some facilities budget to hobble this one along to some degree as well, because we still have a designed $20 million fleet facility that has not broken ground yet. That's a big deal, and that need has been in the hopper for like 8 years. And so I feel like, and first, we're in the process of retiring about 12 million worth of debt on 3 public pools. So, I mean, we do have to get to a point where these things kind of have to be in line in front of and behind one another. And, you know, we scored that fleet facility for DPW years ago. They're waiting to, as soon as they have a site, they're pretty much ready to go. I see Firehouse Number One behind that, and they're going to need a home before they can vacate the home that they're giving to the PD. So I feel like we are not months, but years from this. And so I think we should be earmarking funds for like cyclical maintenance, like the stuff we see here, and probably not planning for large-scale construction until we have other stuff standing. That's just where I feel. I mean, we can score up all this stuff, but at the end of the day, we don't have the borrowing capacity for all of it. So I think this is hard.
Just so you're aware, most equipment's designed to last 15 to 20 years.
It is.
The building's at its 30-year life. The study should have been done at least 5 years ago.
It should have, but
Probably
the
all of
situation
them,
we
so-
find ourselves in is that, you know, we are in a situation where we are maintaining and basically, you know, holding stuff together, and that's been the life story of this building for the last 10 years. Like, there's times where we can't print money here. If we could, we would have all these projects done. So this is a hard one. I mean, I think that we can make investments to, I mean, we're going to have to fix, knowing what the timeline of this is, we're going to have to fix the air conditioning down there. We've
That's
started a
process,
three-phase project on the membrane roof down there from the years before. Like, you know, there was all kinds of things that have come in for ranking. We've had carpet there before, that we earmarked into the facilities budget. So I feel like it's a challenge, yes, but I just don't feel like we have the luxury of a big, big project right now. Or in the next 5 years, probably. I mean, if we have to borrow 20 million for the fleet facility, that's a big deal.
That's
Right,
a lot,
like-
that's a lot of debt, yeah. Conversely, a study would give us, you know, a timeline though, and a path forward on these, what needs to be done, what repairs, and then we can make an intelligent decision on how to tackle,
Right.
you know, the future of this building.
I believe this would just be a stepping forward for guidance for us.
I think we're good if we find out what needs to be done, but there's no way we can put real-time price tags to it, because by the time we get to it, it's gonna be more. Right? I mean,
Right.
the time value of money.
Yeah,
So-
it's going up, it's constantly going up from the estimates and bids I've got from other years. But
Constantly.
It would give you a stepping stone, where to start and where to.
Yeah.
A, B.
I mean, having a roadmap is certainly a good idea. I'm happy to score it. I just think when I see the other stuff that's in this book, that it's going to be hard for this one to come to the top immediately, because, I mean, even within the department, there's things that are more pressing. So, but thanks.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Alder Gistman?
Well, thank you. I think the city has to come to some kind of an agreement with regard to what is going to be done when, you know, sort of agreeing with Alderperson Rasmussen. Where are we with these projects? And I think that a combined effort on the part of the city council to determine exactly what and when we do this is important. I cannot see spending money in 2026 with regard to a design for a new police department when we have other things. So if there's a need to determine that today, I think that I think the city I don't think that's this committee's duty at this point in time to determine the facility needs for the city of Wausau for the next 10 years. I think that's somewhere else, but I would hope that we would have maintenance. We shouldn't be able, I don't think we should let things fall. Wasn't there monies in this year's budget in 2025 for some of the maintenance of the police department?
I
It's
think it was
embarrassing
the
that
roof
some
and
of
the air
this doesn't get,
No,
this
not the roof.
isn't being done, that there's no air conditioning in the police department as we speak. Unless that was cut from last year. I know last year was
actually budgeted in '24, but the project never was undertaken.
So we
So-
have funds for a chiller for down there?
Yes, like I say, it was budgeted in the '24 budget, but the project never went underway. And then when they bid it in '25, it was over budget, so council did a budget amendment to fund the shortfall, but it was in the '24 budget.
So they have funds now to.
Yeah,
get-
and it's
get that-
underway.
Get it rolling.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the thing. And I think, you know, we should have a little bit of when we talk about facilities, I have always felt like there should be a little fund for every building we own, whether something comes up at Metro Ride, whether it's DPW, whether it's fire, police, wherever. You know, we own all these structures, and something happens somewhere all the time. And so, I mean, not that it's some huge amount, but I think we need to, you know, much like when we plan for equipment replacement, we should have a little bit in that budget for things like ceiling tiles and carpets and faucets that don't work and air conditioning that breaks and, you know, just the normal maintenance type stuff, which isn't even a redo. Like we need, without a budget mod, like I feel like we need to at least have a little fund for that.
They do.
They do. Okay, all right.
Chief?
Well, I'm prepared for the next one, but I would just echo what Alder Gisselman said. I don't disagree with anything you said. I think our purpose in being here is just to highlight that we want to make sure that our facility is still there 25 years from now. And I would support the concept of, and I wouldn't sit here and tell you that fixing our facility is more important than the need for a new fleet maintenance facility, which I think is a higher priority at this point in time in the police chief's opinion that the fleet facility is more important, but it doesn't change that our purpose in being here is to let you know what those needs are going to be, fully accepting that I had zero expectation we were going to get a new retro police department to be able to address that next year. But at some point, we need to address those needs. And that's been our strategy with many of those things that we're not asking money for. This is just to let this committee know that these are anticipated future needs so that if for some reason it becomes exigent, it's not like everyone can say, well, like, we didn't know. This is our opportunity to be able to share that information.
Okay, I guess, committee, do we want to score this item, or I think we've got we've got a ballpark figure from Leo of $60,000 for a facility study.
I feel like we can score it.
We did have money in the budget for 25 for the public safety roof, Leo, just so you know.
We did.
Yeah,
Okay, I was told not. Okay.
I don't know who would have told you that.
Well, and, you know, that then is the struggle we have, because the 2025 construction season is half over. And we're not even off the launch pad. So, I mean, that also makes me wonder if, even if we earmark facilities, can we get projects in time to use the money, or are we going to end up with carryover? So that needs to get moving.
Okay, well, I guess we'll put it down 60,000, and we'll go from there.
So,
Oh, Alder,
explain again, what are the 50,000 for?
for a study, a facility study for the police department building.
Projected into the future? No, not maintenance, but
Yeah, a study for future-
study.
For usage and future, renovation. Okay, we'll move on to the next item.
Sure, and definitely in the lane of, there's no exigency to this next request, but I do anticipate there will be a need at some point in the future. And I'm speaking to the training center and range CIP request. I have no idea when we first started using our current shooting range, which is located on the northwest side of Wausau. It is housed on 3M property, and 3M allows us to use that space and has, long before I became a police officer, Jim, before you started, this might be in the 70, 80-year history for the police department. And it's an outdoor shooting range where we shoot into a sand berm. You can see a picture of our training room up on the screen there. And one thing in our relationship with 3M, and we enjoy a very good relationship between the police department and 3M to use this property. They do some maintenance on it. And again, have allowed us to use it for free. But there's no lifelong lease on that property. It is a year to year. I am mildly concerned about the relationship between the city and 3M and how that might be reflective on the ability for us to use that. For now, we make it work. It's not what I would call a modern facility, as you'll see with our restroom facilities. We're old school outhouse, and it's worked for the last 70 or 80 years, and no one complains to me about it, but a new facility, a new modern facility would allow us additional opportunities. A new modern facility would be an indoor shooting range. The price of indoor shooting range, the most recent one I've heard is a similar sized apartment over on the eastern end of Wisconsin. Over a 2-year period of time, they got an initial price of $3.5 million. By the time the project was done, it was $7 million, and that was 2 years ago when they opened the doors there. And so understanding that at some point in time, this could be a $10 million project, the ability to do something like this would have to be a collaboration between numerous police departments, maybe the sheriff's department, North Central Technical College, because having a bunch of different police departments or sheriff's departments in one county and each of them having their own ranges just doesn't make sense. That's an opportunity for us to share the cost of that and try and find a sustainable way to do it. Again, this falls in the category of starting to build collaboration with other departments and look at funding sources and partnerships. We would like some feedback from the council on whether that is an appropriate thing to do right now, or whether that's something we should, to use Alder Rasmussen's language, should we stick a pin in it for right now and wait? Because once we start trying to establish partnerships, especially in funding, I don't want to be the partner that brings it up and then isn't ready to move forward with it. So there's also a lot of moving parts that come with this request, which is our fire department is looking at a training facility and a burn tower. And if that also is a partnership with NTC and other departments, should this all be on one space? Is there a way to get some federal funding for something like that? So there's a lot of different components, but I am confident that the city's portion of what that would cost if we move forward would exceed the CIP threshold of $25,000. So that is simply planting a seed for this committee and for the council to understand that it's not exigent. We're not asking for the money next year, but I am looking for some direction on whether creating those partnerships makes sense. And also understanding that depending on, at any given time, we could have 3M tell us, no thank you anymore. And at which point we would thank them for the 70, 80, 90 years they've let us use it. And additionally, this was a CIP request years and years ago, where we were looking at building an outdoor range and improving our facility so it's a modern training facility with classroom for our staff. And then we pulled it off the CIP request because we never made it very high in the ranking during those periods of time. But we cannot do any improvements to this property based on the town of Maine won't give us a permit to be able to do that. So I'll entertain any questions.
I have one. First, I love the idea of partnership use and partnership funding for something like this, because when we think of how many smaller police departments could use a facility like that, as well as the county may also want some use of an indoor facility. I think if we could build a coalition that would partner with us and build something regional, and maybe have NTC as our partner since they're our primary training facility. I was actually going to bring up the fact that fire was here last week asking for training space. And I had said then to Chief Kopp, I think that it makes sense for us to have a facility at some point where all public safety trains together. They're often responding together. With the rise of their TEMS unit, they're training now with the SWAT team and things. So the idea that there would be a facility where both departments can train is certainly, I think, a easier sell to the community, and I think it's a value proposition for the council. If we were going to make such an investment, you would want to be able to train both departments out there together or separately. The facility that we put the evidence storage building on for you in the business campus, is there enough land there for any of this? Or is there not? That site?
Absolutely, there's land.
There is. Okay, so it's not a matter of site acquisition then. I mean, we have a possible for the land. That's a help. I guess I don't see this happening like in the next year or two, but I do think that there should be talks first between our two departments, police and fire, to figure out what the needs of each one are for space and amenities before we have a larger regional discussion, because I think what we'll find is that what our departments need, the others probably need too, perhaps on a little smaller scale, but the needs aren't that much different. So I think we can figure out what the needs are internally. And then, maybe go forward and put some numbers to something like this where we really could score it in earnest. I feel like it's hard to score now because it's open-ended. And I feel like the two departments need to get together first and come up with an idea of what they would need. If that makes sense.
No, I think I totally agree. I think, maybe the discussion of an indoor range along with the fire department's need of a training facility would probably, there is a certain level of synergy there that would probably make a stronger project, if there was some way in which to combine the two.
For sure.
Any other questions? Mr. Jean?
I think the question that the chief had asked, and I'm not on the city council, is can they start to talk to people about the possibility of this happening as a regional facility? And I'm not sure you gave that answer.
I feel like the talk should be internal first. Figure out what the two of them would need together. Because then when you go to the outside departments or the outside entities, then you have at least a sketch of what that type of collaboration would look like. And, those departments may want to train, their fire departments as well. They may want to train everyone together as well. But what that would look like and what such a facility would have and be able to offer in terms of equipment and training options, I think we'd have to hammer that out first before we could offer it to others.
Alder Gisselman?
What is our relationship to the Marathon County Sheriff's Department's their shooting range out on town of Mosinee, I believe? Do we use their facilities? I mean, it's quite extensive, I understand.
Yeah, we do not use their facilities for a couple of reasons. One, that facility is utilized quite frequently by a bunch of smaller departments, and so there isn't the opportunity. At the end of the day, we shoot 1 week out of every month. So for us to get our staff through firearms training, it's a Monday through Friday. So 1 week out of every month, we would need the facility. That would be very hard to do with the sheriff's range. The other challenge with the sheriff's range is it's 20-some minutes one way during normal day traffic to be able to get officers down to their range to be able to train and get them back. It's the same challenge we have with North Central Technical College, which built a fantastic public safety training facility with an indoor range and classrooms, but they built it on the north end of Merrill. And so our ability to send staff and get them there and not have them in a position where they can't respond to emergencies within the city has always been the challenge. One preliminary conversation with the sheriff is looking at how their facility might still be available for shooting of rifles, for example. Like a range would be 25 yards, and we want officers to be shooting their rifles beyond 25 yards, where some type of collaboration to have an indoor facility that's more centrally located and more appropriate for Wausau officers to be able to use, as well as having sheriff's deputies there with this range that's kind of distanced out for us, available for specialized type training we might need in an outdoor setting.
So you mentioned so arrangements have already been developed with smaller municipalities with regard to the sheriff's department. Those other arrangements are already, those partnerships with the sheriff's department has already been made with some of the smaller.
I think those arrangements are the sheriff's department, when it's open and available, allow their range to be used by other smaller departments within the county. I mean, the real challenge with the sheriff's department's range is they have their training module that they go through 5 to 7 days out of every month. They have SWAT teams that train out at their facility, as well as all the smaller departments that might use their facility. There just aren't enough days that would be open that would meet our schedule. But now a new way of looking at training, which is the training facility is going to be open to anyone, and a firearms instructor, they're all certified. Like each department has their own cadre of certified firearms instructors. They all instruct to the exact same standard from the Department of Justice Training and Standards. So it might be advantageous to have Wausau officers that are also training with sheriff's deputies, that might be training with a Marathon police officer, an Edgar police officer, because at certain times, if things go really sideways here, we're all going to be working together anyway. And so to build relationships and make sure that that training is consistent, there might be some internal value in aligning ourselves in a similar training facility. And I'm no fire expert, but I have to believe some of those same things that I believe to be true for law enforcement would be true for fire as well. A 5-alarm fire has mutual aid requests that bring firefighters from elsewhere into the city or vice versa.
Just a quick follow-up. So the State Patrol has indoor range facilities. Is there a way that we can find out how heavy their utilization is at their facility? And so, I mean, I'm just thinking of your facility in the dead of winter. Like, would there be an option to periodically gain access to their facility, their indoor facility for a fee?
My understanding of their facility is very old. I haven't
Okay.
had a conversation about that, but my understanding was their range wasn't being utilized because of the venting
Oh.
wasn't what it needed to be. So in order to shoot on a range that's not vented appropriately, you have to use non-lead ammunition, which raises the price of shooting about fourfold to use non-toxic shot. So it's much cheaper to have it appropriately vented. And I'm under the impression their range is like 1 or 2 lanes only, and
So smaller,
we
okay.
would need more than that.
Okay, that makes sense. I know they have a plan to replace their Wausau post at some point. Whether or not it includes a facility like that, I don't know, but,
Maybe we can bring
Curious
them
what
in
they're
as
doing with-
partners, and they can
well,
write a
just
check.
curious what they're planning, in terms of, I mean, if we were going to look at something that, can be regionally used, whether or not their current facility is an option in the interim, especially when it's 20 below outside, would be, I mean, maybe worth talking about, but, I guess if, this is another one that's hard to score without a dollar figure.
Well, I'm not sure I would ask you to score it.
Yeah.
I just want you to know that we were tasked with thinking to the future for the
ahead,
next
yeah.
5 to 10 years, and what might that look like here, so that the policymakers can start thinking about those
Mm-hmm.
things, and that's simply where this lands.
I would 100% encourage the internal dialogue between our two public safety departments to analyze what their joint needs would be and separate needs would be, and see if any or if it all would fit on the site where the evidence building is. I think that's an important internal discussion, and if that discussion happens, over the next, course of whatever, then I think we might have something that we could go forward with in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else before we move on? Okay, let's go on to the next item.
I think this is my last one before you hear from others, and that is the Special Event Safety Enhancements Vehicle Barrier System and Tethered Drones. Earlier this year, Deputy Chief Todd Baton came before Public Health and Safety and gave a presentation on modern-day special events and what does professional policing and how do we actually hold the events that we have and make them as safe as possible as the threats to special events and large crowds change. And so you will see the price tag is very expensive to be able to shut down roads in such a way that somebody can't drive through them. I think we enjoyed decades and decades and decades of parades and events and shutting streets down where we took a wooden sawhorse type barricade and we just dragged 2 of them across the street and we said the street's closed. And if it's a barrier that you can drive a pickup truck through, then it's not good enough today, where that might have been good enough yesterday. So you will see what our recommendation would be and what our needs are for this community as we assess how many barriers we would need to adequately protect our roadways in our parades and in many of our downtown situations or special events that take place. And that price tag is so enormous that it didn't make sense to us to try and ask for $700,000 or $650,000 to do it all at once. We were applying the how to eat an elephant philosophy, which is one bite at a time, and broke it up over the 5 years that exist here. It's still very expensive. So when I look at what is occurring for special events, in other communities throughout the state, I was very surprised at how many of those communities are making the investment in not only portable road barriers that are capable of stopping a truck, but they're also utilizing other safety procedures, which is force multiplying, which is drone technology to be able to have eyes on what's going on at any time. And so you can get away with less officers or staff walking around looking with their own eyes as opposed to staff operating drones and being able to view what's going on over a larger area by zooming in on a screen. And the drones are the same as drones are drones. You put them up in the air. The tethered component allows the drone to stay up in the air indefinitely without worrying about batteries. And so most professionally run safety departments for special events, these are two things that we are seeing all those departments utilizing. And the challenge really comes for us is as we approve special events, and Wausau is known as the special events community of Marathon County for the most part, it's difficult to approve those special events if we don't believe we have the appropriate technology and or equipment to make them safe. So if you think about our parades right now, we've created one parade route. It involves Stewart Avenue. It's the Christmas parade route with a few tweaks, but we used to use those barricades, and now on Christmas parade night, we pull out every apparatus out of DPW and use it to block roads because a grader will stop a pickup truck. But that requires staff. I don't think it necessarily screams professionalism when you're using dump trucks to be able to have a parade. And so we think that this is the solution for Wausau. And I would say that we have occasions where it's not necessarily someone with nefarious or evil intent. Sometimes it's individuals who, based on their age, make a decision and drive the wrong way down a wrong way, or don't realize a road is closed, or they're having a medical emergency, or they're intoxicated. And I think through all the really cool events that take place in Wausau, where we shut down 3rd Street and 4th Street, and we have people walking in the street. And up to this point, we've always utilized the wooden barriers. And it's not possible on those events for us to use vehicles to block the roads, because then we have to have a staff person in it, because if there's a medical emergency and an ambulance needs to get down the road that's shut down, we need to have someone who's capable of moving that vehicle. So we're navigating the best as we can right now, and the city has definitely made investments in public safety. If you look at the barriers that were put up on the 400 block to be able to prevent someone from driving off of 4th Street, those different bollards that are there. But as we continue to be the special event capital of Marathon County, I think there has to be strong consideration for what are the necessary infrastructure improvements to be able to do that safely. And this is our recommendation on how to start accomplishing that.
Any questions? Then this looks like this is a 4-year plan, so we wouldn't have $650,000 for 2026, but phased $108,000 over, well, starting at $108,000 and then $180 for the following 4 years. So. Okay, I'm not hearing anything. Let's move on to the next.
You're up.
Good morning. I'm going to be talking about the records management piece of the police department's request. Echoing much of what Chief Barnes and Captain Graham had mentioned in terms of kind of planting a seed and planning ahead, and discussing kind of the life of a building and infrastructure, moving to technology and what that lifespan looks like, much shorter than a building typically. So our current records management system is part of Central Square's Superion suite of products that we went on board with in 2018. That was part of a consortium with the Sheriff's Office, and that was a countywide thing. So part of this is on behalf of or in collaboration with CCIT, obviously. I had a conversation with Director Klein kind of about this in terms of looking forward and what our needs are technology-wise for our primary law enforcement software, which is obviously a collaboration with the Sheriff's Office and CCIT. So in the current product we have, Superion, was developed in 2013, 2014. So at that time, reference point, it was about an iPhone 7, something like that. And at that time and how it was built, that was before the transition for the federal government statistics to incident-based reporting. So as designed, it wasn't really built as a tool to work with IBRs. Since then, in 2018, the timing of when we needed one and got into it, Superion had kind of bolted on or modified its product to be IBRs compliant. But, similar to if you took a civilian Ford Explorer and tried to make it a pursuit car as opposed to just buying it as a police interceptor from the beginning, it's probably not going to work as well. And so we're running into some of those things over time. Since we implemented it in 2018, you have CAD, you have records management and evidence management in the middle, which is primarily what we use at the PD. Then you also have the jail module that comes with that for the jail. Mobile field reporting, with the officers use to access all this information in their squads and write reports. So it is dated, and it shows there's several things that are in comparison to modern systems now that have since been developed, and those systems that are available now are generally cloud-based. They are built specifically for IBRs. They're natively built for that, so they work really well in terms of efficiency and workflows. So right now, especially when we bring in new staff, it is very challenging to train them on this older technology, lots of data entry, things that back then it was a good product, but we see now in terms of what's available to reduce all the manual entry. Right now, to train our officers to use our system to work with IBRs, we have to train them to essentially be experts in IBR coding. So when they come back to write the report, their narrative is just one piece of it, but all the data entry and making sure it's right in terms of offense code, people, victim associations, things of that nature, very time intensive for them. And IBRs wasn't designed that you train officers to do that, but the product at the time, as a bolt-on to try to make it IBRs compliant, that's what it requires right now. And so that hasn't kept pace with the technology that is available where, it'd be kind of like doctors doing their own medical coding and then you want it to be accurate all the time as well. That's kind of where we're at right now when we want to get away from having officers to do that when there's technology that can do that for us primarily. To make our data accurate as well, make sure that we're reporting accurately. But then the other challenge is being able to report out to the community, to be transparent, a reliable system that can generate our data and we can use it in a reliable fashion and be able to know what our data actually looks like and to use it. So right now, the ability to use our data is very challenging. It's time consuming to pull it out manually, put it into different systems to try to make sense of it, analyze it, compare information and report out to all of you. Some simple things like in terms of investigative tool for our detectives, intelligence gathering, the current system as designed, it's not intuitive that way. When you're trying to figure out, you have a suspect and you want to know everything they've been tied to, all the people they've been tied to, their associates over the last 10 years within our record system, it's not something you can just access at a push of a button. You really got to dive in. Whereas modern systems, it gives you this snapshot, a picture of here's every person, other associate this person's been tied to throughout your records, and it makes those connections for you so you can see on a dashboard a picture of what this person has been involved in over the last year, 10 years, what have you. So that's obviously in 2018. Well, prior to that, there was a consortium across us, the Sheriff's Office, CCIT, some smaller agencies that got us the system that we have now. Really, we're just looking towards, by 2028, by the time we're 10 years out, it's already dated now in terms of technology. We're hoping to kick that up again with that consortium, and so that by 2028 we can hopefully have something in the works towards selecting a new product. There is some options in terms of you can just get an RMS system now that will play well and integrate with your current CAD and jail system, but again, it's not the ideal as opposed to working toward a new suite. Central Square, which currently owns Superion, has additional products that it's since bought out that are light years ahead of the product that we're currently using. as developed, it reached its ceiling prior to us even implementing it. So the way that that program is designed, it wasn't designed to be able to evolve or scale as opposed to a modern system currently like Axon for our body cameras and all our digital evidence. As it was developed, it can continue to evolve, which it does. But we have all this digital evidence and that comes with body cameras, which is really great, but it doesn't play well with the iPhone 7, essentially. It doesn't mesh well, so we have to live in these different systems. So right now, to get a report from the officer, through a supervisor, through records, to mesh that with jail records and then over to the D's office takes a lot of staff time, a lot of manual data entry, checking, making corrections, things like that. And looking at some of the newer products, the way in which these newer products share information is, a false force multiplier, I guess, as Chief would say, in terms of reducing manual time for officers, for our clerical staff, the DA's office, social services, all the people that want our information. It's very time consuming right now to pull out our information manually. Our record staff has to reproduce that information and then reshare it out as opposed to it all being automated. So we look forward to that next step in technology. And again, the ask is just consider that. We'd certainly like to start those conversations across CCIT and the Sheriff's Office, hopefully by, say, this fall, so that we can have something more concrete for numbers into next year, looking forward to 27 and 28. The current system, countywide, through CCIT, it's about $225,000 a year that CCIT pays for that system. Quotes right now from current software products are about $50,000 to $75,000 per year more than that. So we can look at what is the city share across the Sheriff's Office, CCIT, and that county collaboration. Just kind of a rough, if you're looking $40,000 to $50,000 more per year from the city potentially, as just a rough start. But this technology continues to evolve, and we see a lot of advantages in how when this integrates with all your digital evidence, and it makes it much more streamlined, frees up a lot more officer time to do what they need to do, frees up our record staff time to battle the open records requests that continue to come in at a higher volume. So we're looking to reduce that administrative time on the front end with current technology that keeps pace with everything else that we do.
Okay. Any questions? Alder Rasmussen?
Thank you. So if this is a 2028 need, to at least get a product into testing mode by then, we should probably expect then to see a request from Director Klein next summer.
That's
I
our,
would imagine.
yes, that's what we discussed.
Okay, then we probably wouldn't score it yet until we get
No.
some idea from him.
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, let's move on to the next item.
Good morning.
Morning.
Start with ballistic shields.
All right.
All right, so I am not the firearms expert by any means in our department. But as far as our ballistic shield request, we currently have 5 shields in our fleet. 3 of those 5 are out of manufacturer lifespan. Only 3 of them are actually fire rated to a lot of the calls that we're seeing today as far as long guns. So we're actually looking at replenishing our stock and going up to 10 with these ballistic shields. So we'd like to buy 10 fire rated shields to actually put into our current fleet. So currently 2 of the 5 shields are what we're comfortable using on a day-to-day basis when we need them for rifle rated shield protection. With one of those, we keep it in the patrol lieutenant vehicle. So on a high-risk call where our patrol lieutenants are generally responding to, they would respond with one of those shields. We have 1 that are out in the fleet every day. So with our request of 10, we're going to have more on the road to really actually be responding to calls to better equip our officers to respond to some of the calls that we're seeing. Again, if we have 10, which is our current quote, we would be mounting them into our squads, so there's faster response times to some of these higher risk calls that we are seeing our patrol officers being, sent to. As far as the shields themselves, nowadays, we're looking at, a 5-year lifespan for the armor. Rated protection is kind of what we see right now. So the current fleet that we have right now, the current 3 are really out of their lifespan. So we're really, again, using 2 of them right now, and we're looking to get 10 more, so we'd be able to stock all of our fleet.
Okay. Any questions on this? So the total amount is $60,000 for 10 shields. All right. We'll move forward with that. And then the next item?
Firearms, our rifles.
Rifles. All right.
Yeah, so we currently have 47 Bushmaster rifles. Some of those were purchased back in 2008, the rest 2017, and we have been able to get parts to keep them serviceable. The new request that we would be looking at is to get 50 newer rifles, along with suppressors, which we currently do not have on our rifle stock. So we're able to kind of build these as we need them. One of the things that we've noticed more recently is with the suppressors, they really help with hearing and the protection of our officers that are using them. So currently, we don't have suppressors. We obviously wear ear protection when we train with them. But if an officer is deploying this in the field and potentially using it in the field, they wouldn't have that ability to put hearing protection on. So again, part of the new rifles that we're looking at would look at our officer safety as far as hearing protection. So again, currently, we have 47 that have kind of made it to their lifespan. We have been able to buy new parts, but again, we're looking at replenishing and moving forward, since some of these we've had since 2008 that we've been able to work with.
Okay. And this is budgeted for actually 2027, so we would be looking forward to this, not this year, but the following year.
Correct, yeah. So it's kind of a rough estimate of what we're looking at right now in time. But again, we've got what our stock is currently, we've been able to fix and keep within their working order. We're looking at the future with this one as well.
And I know, we've in the past, when we've purchased handguns, other firearms, there's been like a trade-in program. Is something like that factored into the purchase of these rifles?
It was not factored in. I don't know that that would be an option for us. That's something that we can definitely look at by then. But again, we've kind of built these rifles to what we've need by buying parts over time. So I'm not sure what that looks like future as far as a trade-in.
Alder Rasmussen?
Thank you. Given the fact that there's 2 separate acquisition years for the ones that you have today, I would like us to consider, even if we're going to score this for next year, maybe looking at a phased purchase here, like half and half. Or, part of the thing we run into, I think, with equipment is when you buy everything at once, it all expires at the same time. So, not that you want stuff that functions so differently that someone can't pick up one weapon versus the other and the function is completely different. But, if we could phase this over a couple year span, much like we did radios and we've done a lot of things that way, I think we even started with cameras that way. So, if we could divide this up over a couple years, it would be much easier, I think, to fit it into the CIP plan rather than as one big project. So, that's something I think we should think about for next year, is if that purchase could be split.
I would think of training too. They would be new equipment, and it would be ideal to have everybody training on the same equipment. When we look at the purchase of these will be outfitted into our squads as well as given to our non-patrol as well. So our detectives, any sworn officer will be issued one. So we always like to do some of these so they all have the same training on the same equipment. So if one person needed to grab a rifle from a different squad, they're all trained the same way on the same equipment. That would be the only thing that I would want to make sure that we would be capable of doing.
Don't most of them sit in an arms locker most of the time, though? Because you don't have, I mean, if you buy 50 and you have 12 cars on the road,
Actually, they're in all of our unmarked cars, so every detective and marked car. So they're actually always out on the road. Having 50 would only give us 4 extra that would be in our range for training purposes. So those other 46 would actually be deployed in all of our marked and unmarked vehicles.
yes, I wasn't aware the fleet was that large.
Yeah.
Or that it had gotten that large. I mean, we don't have that many patrol sectors, so.
We don't, but at every given time, we might have 8 to 10 vehicles out there as far as marked patrol. But again, they're in each one of our unmarked vehicles. So a high-risk call comes in where all the detectives need to run out. They already have the rifles in their vehicles.
Sure, okay. Something to think about. Thank you.
Alder Gissman?
Just for my own, how often do you use rifles within the course of, say, a month or a year?
It's dependent on the calls.
Well,
we
no,
would-
just generally.
Yeah. We have found that there are more and more calls that we are using them on. I would be making up a number if I said, we use them this time a month, because again, it's very call specific. But anytime that we have a firearm call, which those numbers have gone up, it is always nice to have that rifle available to us, along with the shields, actually. It's going to be something that keeps our officers a little bit safer so they can stay back a distance and use the rifle rather than going up right away on a call. But really, any firearm-related call, we try to deploy rifles just for the safety aspect of it. I could get those numbers to you
No, that's
if you're
fine. I was
looking
just
for,
generally getting some kind of a sweep of, the need and the use of rifles for our
Yeah.
police department. That's all. Thank you.
yeah.
Mr. Wadinsky?
To help answer that question, part of the reason some of the equipment that the police department has is to use if you need it. It's like an insurance policy. You hope you never have to use it, but if you need it, you want it now.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, let's move on to the next item.
So our crash reconstruction team has equipment that they utilize to measure scenes. So the current equipment that we purchased over 10 years ago has been out of date for quite some time. We have formed a partnership with the Wisconsin State Patrol, and they house their equipment at our police department and give us the ability to train and use it. At any given time, that might be pulled from our use, so we wouldn't have access to that. And again, going back to the equipment that we currently own is out of date. It's workable, but it's not serviceable anymore. So this is a request that we are looking at to replenish our current stock of what we use for the team. Our crash team handles fatal crashes, high injury crashes, as well as a lot of our crime scenes. So they will go in, make measurements, produce a scale diagram for court. So these members are being called out on a routine basis, really just it helps in the court process as well, having these scaled diagrams available. And it's something that, again, we've been very, very fortunate that the State Patrol has allowed us to use their equipment. And we're looking to, again, purchase our own now to have for another 10 to 12 years going forward.
Any questions on this? All right, and that's budgeted $60,000 plus change budgeted for, or asked for, the 2026 budgets. Okay, thank you. And I think that's the last item, isn't it? We've kind of been jumping around here, but anything else for police before we move on?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, next up on the list is Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the
morning.
committee. I will keep mine, I think, very brief. They're pretty basic. Not anything really flashy or exciting like the PD has. We just have a lot of, within, as you heard earlier, there's a lot of deferred maintenance in the city, and the Parks Department is no different. One of the areas we're struggling with right now is we don't currently have a pavement replacement program like our streets do. So we're coming up with multiple facilities that have failed pavement, whether it's parking lots, tennis courts, basketball courts, whatever. We are working on that. We have been able to do some courts. We've been very fortunate to work with DPW to get some small items completed within our small projects budget, but when it comes to the larger capital projects, ours just keep getting kicked down the road. So the biggest one we have is Sylvan Hill parking lot. This is the 8th year that I've recommended this for the CIP. I don't know if it was on it before I started, but it's one of them that it's a very large parking lot, so it's higher cost. It keeps going up each year that we defer it, and it just reached its end of life, so it's almost non-existent in some places where the pavement should be. And the entrance road going in is also in need of replacement, which I know we've been talking with DPW about possibly doing that when they do some of their streets, but if we don't get the parking lot completed, I'm not sure we really want to do the entry road at that time yet either. That's our longest one that we've had on here. Memorial Park parking lot and drive is actually a new project that we're putting on here, but we had a pretty massive failure in part of the road this year after the spring thaw, where we had to actually close the park to the public for a while because we had a washout. We had to fill it in. Currently, right now, it's passable, so we were able to open the park for the season. We were going to work with DPW just to do the patching, but I thought I'd put it on here first, see where it goes. If we don't get it to the point where we're replacing it, then we'll put the patch in, and we'll just keep that coming forward for a request. But that is new this year based on issues we've had with the road and the parking lot after the spring thaw. I'll skip the playground real quick and go to the last parking lot, which is Riverside. This is the, 2023. So this will be the 4th year that we've had this on the CIP. It's not getting any better. So we have pretty failed pavement within the main parking lot area, some pretty large holes that we just continue to put small patches in. But this is also a heavily used, I would say, between Sylvan, Oak Island, and Riverside are our 3 most heavily used city parks for rentals, for public spaces that we get large groups at. So that is another pavement program. And then the last thing is the playground replacement. We had been very diligent about replacing the playgrounds, 1 or 2 every year, and we got to our very last 2, which is River Highlands and Westview Terrace. So I have on here doing 1 a year. River Highlands would be this year. That's our oldest. It's beyond the 15 years. We have postponed this one for the last 3 years just because we had higher priority projects we wanted to bring forward. But bringing this back so that it doesn't get too far beyond. Westview Terrace is in a better position where we have that for next year. If we needed to put that out 1 more year beyond that, I think Westview Terrace could. River Highlands, though, is in need of replacement or removal at this point, and that would conclude the entire replacement of the playgrounds after those 2 that we've done over the last 7 years. And then we wait another 15, 20 years and start the process all over again, but phasing those in. And then a lot of our city playgrounds we've been able to do through the Community Development Block Program, which has been able to keep them on schedule and not have them come through CIP, but River Highlands and Westview Terrace actually both don't fall within our lower income areas of the city, so they don't qualify for those Community Development Block Grant funds. So our other option is CIP. So very simple. Pavement, playground. Any questions?
Okay, I know, just starting at the end here, looking at the playground equipment, we did defer playground equipment last year because they were our newest 2 playgrounds and they didn't quite hit end of life. But now you said River Highlands is at,
River Highland had hit end of life a few years ago. It's just doesn't qualify for those other funds, so it just didn't reach to the highest priority.
so, but, yeah, and Westview Terrace could go another year, so we could, if we wanted to keep our playground schedule moving, we could do half of that this year and then a half next year probably. So, which is what you do have in the budget actually.
I do, yep.
125,000 for 2026 and 115 for 2027 for a total of $240,000.
Correct.
Alder Rasmussen.
Thank you. Just a question, I guess I'll ask the same question that I asked Community Development last week about pavements and parking lots. Is the pricing that's assigned to these, are these external contractor prices? I know that over the last couple of years, DPW has acquired the equipment to pave larger sections. In fact, they, within the last couple of years, have paved entire neighborhood streets that are low-traffic streets, and they've done a fantastic job on those. In fact, they did a number of them in neighborhoods where we were able to get some extra funding and rubbleize existing pavement and then asphalt overlay over top and completed those in-house. Is there any option to partner with them for that type of work on these to reduce the cost?
Well, I think there's always, so Sylvan is based on quotes that they gave us years ago, and then we just keep increasing that. So Sylvan being the largest parking lot, that's probably a low number, and that was working either with DPW or Highway.
Okay.
Memorial and Riverside are based on contractor prices just at this point. I mean, we work very well with DPW, and I think they could probably say the same thing. It's just that they're pretty spread thin as well. So I think we can always talk about doing these projects with them. It just depends on what their schedule is and their time that allows, because, you know, there's streets and their priority projects that need to get done first before these parking lots as well. So I think we're always wanting to do it as cost-effective as possible. And yes, definitely we can work with them if their schedule allows.
Well, and the fact that Memorial feels more like it's full-scale construction, drainage and whatnot, problems there, I mean, that seems like that's an outsourced type thing, but just knowing how many years we've kicked the Sylvan Hill parking lot down the road, and it is in way worse shape than Riverside. You know, I feel like if we were going to prioritize any of these projects, I feel like it's probably Sylvan and Memorial. Only because, I mean, the pavement is almost non-existent at Sylvan, right? We're looking at pretty much gravel now. At least there's pavement at Riverside, and playground equipment. I hate to kick playgrounds down the road because we did it for a long time and we ended up playing catch-up, but, you know, I guess if you were going to prioritize these projects and we had to make tough choices, what would you put first?
I think I have them in here as a priority, so
They're in order in the
yep,
book?
I think
Okay.
so. Sylvan, Memorial, then the playground, then Riverside, yes.
That's super helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, and I know that definitely Sylvan Hills parking lot is in worse shape than Riverside's. I was down at Riverside Park a couple weeks ago, and there's still pavement there at least, and that's not the case in big chunks of Sylvan Hill. And both of those parks do get a lot of utilization. My concern about Memorial Park is that the damage to the pavement inhibits access to the park, and what do we got? We got disc golf, we got a pool down there, we got ball diamonds, so, and a boat launch.
yeah.
So there's a lot of, that would be, you know, if we had to close down Memorial Park for a year, that would inhibit, you know, that would close down the pool. So, any other questions from the committee? Well, we got a lot of, Mr. Wadinsky.
Is it required to have pavement on some of these parks? I know in the past there's been more rustic and more gravel, or is that just not a thing anymore, or?
In violation of our
Just
own.
curious.
I've heard that we've been in violation of our own ordinance for pavement up at Sylvan for some number of years now. I guess it's our requirement that places paved, just like we make people pave driveways that aren't grandfathered anymore. So, yeah, I mean, I think if there's a requirement, it's probably ours, and we're probably not in compliance.
Alder Gisselman?
Thank you. With regard to Riverside, in your notes, you'll say that that is one of the higher revenue generating facilities, the shelter there. I trust that. So I think that there is some value in promoting the city of Wausau when it comes to a decent parking lot. I think that that's to our guests that come in and use our park, I think we should pay attention to what that park looks like and how it's served. You also anticipate a change in bike polo. Can you speak a little bit to the bike polo? I've sort of been involved with that through the years, anticipating a new or redoing of their rink, so to speak.
Yeah, so currently, their bike polo area that they used to use at Riverside Park, on that, it's the south end, it's in pretty poor condition too, just like the parking lot. So this past year, because we also have tennis courts that have been underutilized, but also are in need of pavement, and we were able to, well, we had a lot of construction in Riverside Park over the last couple of years with the soil remediation, so that hindered the use of the bike polo court also. So we moved them. Currently, they're at Memorial Park, utilizing the tennis courts there. It seems to be working okay. We haven't heard a lot from the community as far as taking those tennis courts out of play. So it works well there. We can keep that there. I think that's a priority maybe of the Parks Committee to talk about what the long-term goal is for tennis versus pickleball versus bike polo. But in this request, if we're going to do the pavement of the parking lot, I have an addition of the pavement of their rink, and we move them back, put 2 courts at Riverside, move them there, and solely have Riverside be their space so that we could look at the tennis court and refurbishing that at Memorial Park and either putting that back into play, making it pickleball, making it something different. But that's part of this request.
Because the bike polo has been an important part of recreation, I think, for the city. Statewide competitions also bringing into the city. So I think that is also a valuable part of the park services that we do provide, so thank you.
Yeah, bike polo is definitely a different amenity, and I would hate to see that, losing that. So that would be, so if we reconstructed Riverside Park, that would include pavement for the bike polo.
It does include that pavement for the bike polo, yes.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Okay, thank you.
And then I see you got Parks Rolling Stock in here, but that's just for our information. We don't have to rank that, I believe. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
That's the city's half, and the county matches that.
Yep.
So, thank you.
thank you. Next up, we've got Public Works, and we've got a lot of Public Works here. So streets is our. Good morning, Dustin.
Morning.
Eric?
Sure. So we can start out with the fleet facility. As you know, we've been talking about this for a few years. I think that the biggest holdup on this is the location. We've looked at a number of properties for purchase. That's what the $2 million amount is in for. All the properties that we've looked at within the city, north side, west side, east side, south side, it's all been around that $2 million, and that's where that budget number came from. It was anywhere from 1.6 to about 2.2 million. So the other cost in for 26 would be the $500,000 to move ahead with design. So if we could have that budgeted, once a location is found and determined by the council to move ahead with, we could immediately start our design of that facility. What the council has seen in the past is really concepts with a lot of contingency amounts in the costs at this point. And so as we would narrow that down, go to 30% design, 60% design, those contingency costs would come down, and we'd find some value engineering, I think, in the entire cost of the project. So so if you have any questions on that, then how we're proposing to proceed.
Yep, Alder
I
Rasmussen.
have just one question, because I see that we had asked for, on the future pages, a truck wash. The fleet facility includes a truck wash bay, right?
It does, and I think that's why we kind of push that off into future years, because we want, just trying to keep everything on a 5-year scale on what we need, but that would go away if the
That's
fleet facility, yes.
What I was asking, because I was
Yes.
thinking if we score up one, we maybe don't have to score up both.
That's correct.
I see.
Yes, yep.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions? I know the fleet facility's been on here, on our CAP process for several years. I know we do have a couple newer members on the committee that may have not seen this before, but I guess, so we're looking at this year, if ranking $2.5 million for the land acquisition and the engineering, but for land acquisition, I know depending on where we go, were we talking about possibility of, if the land was located inside of a TID, we would be able to use TID financing for that, or is that not a?
There's nothing in the law that prohibits you from using TID for land acquisition, but you wouldn't be able to build a public building on it. That's the only exemption in the law language currently.
Okay, so that might not be a possibility then.
Question?
Alder Gisselman?
So with the design, there was some design for prior property by.
Yep.
So is that being able to be, so to speak, reused, or are we going to be using the same designer, so to speak, or are we, the same concepts, I think, were presented. Just wondering if some of those can be brought into the new project. If there's a different designer, of course, that I understand that all goes away. I get that, but I was just wondering about how you were seeing that happening.
Yeah, I would say 90% of what's already been done will be used, right? That kind of set the footprint of the building, the space that we need, the facilities that we need attached to that building. It's just really the orientation on whatever the final site is, right? So we did put quite a bit of work into looking at that West Street site, right? So if a different property is used that maybe has a different orientation, we might have to do those buildings, but yeah. But all the work that's been done, the majority of it is still feasible to use, and the concept is there.
And where is do we know where or is that in another committee somewhere with regards to the property itself?
So the Infrastructure and Facilities Committee is talking about it about every month on updates. So we're back to looking at properties down around the existing DPW site. If there's additional properties that could be purchased, we're looking at other vacant properties in the city, reaching out to property owners if they're willing to sell. So we're still in in that phase.
So that the current facilities, that properties, expansion or whatever, that is being also highly considered?
Yeah, that's just one of the options that's always been on the books, right? And so, so that is one of the options that's being considered as well, as looking at other properties in other areas of the city. Yes.
Just a quick question.
Rasmussen?
With that process, is it possible also internally just to re-inventory parcels that we may already own?
Yes.
I know we've looked at stuff in the business campus before.
Yes.
I mean, if you could avoid buying property from the private sector, that certainly is a cost reduction for the taxpayer if we could reevaluate if we have anything that's suitable.
Right, and I think that's one of the things that we'll probably be bringing up here, or I know we'll be bringing up here in infrastructure and facilities, is just in general concepts of everything that we've looked at, a status of those additional property owners that we've reached out to, and so on. That's one of the things that Chad on the committee has asked for, is a full update.
Well, and that's one thing, like when we go to look at site acquisition and we look at, residential properties, if we have people that are wanting to go or willing to go, that's one thing. But I think if we get to a situation where you end up in a fight with, some of the property owners, but not all, that is not I guess the optics of a fight like that are something that the council would be unlikely to take on. So,
Right.
I mean, if we could look at stuff we already own and, maybe some of the former sites and just see where those all lie or where they all fall.
Right, and I think one of the, getting direction from the committee and the council on which direction to go, right? If we were to purchase property or multiple properties, then it would be the look at hiring a consultant, right?
Yep.
To do the appraisals and to do the approach and
Right.
follow that
Well, and
process,
with the
yeah.
present day value of property acquisition, stuff
Yep.
is so expensive. It's
Correct.
just to buy something is so high,
Yeah,
and that's where I guess
Yep.
I would just like to see us take stock of, where we've been before we get too far down the road, and the optics of eminent domain are always ugly.
yes,
And, I mean, that's just not a fight that we really want if we can avoid, so.
right. I
Thank
would
you.
agree, yeah.
Alder Gisselman?
Well, just remind, and we are always being driven back to Cleveland Avenue, and I just, again, remind everyone that the city council has pretty much taken Cleveland Avenue off of the consider list, and I see that from a Wausau pilot and review article with regards to the new cleanup that's anticipated. Some decisions have to be made there. So, Cleveland Avenue seems to be sometimes in the background, but I think we have pretty much, with regard to the city council, determined that this Cleveland Avenue is off the table, and I want continually remind us of that. So thank you.
All right. I know we've been talking about this fleet facility for quite some time. I mean, are we to the point where we could realistically find a location in 2026?
I do feel like there is the opportunity to at least move forward with, trying to get something at the end of 25 into 2026. So, and I think at some point the council's going to have to make a decision sooner than later, so we can continue to move forward.
Sure. I think that it's interesting that we bring up the idea of 1300 Cleveland. We did commit a long time ago to clean that up to residential standards regardless of what it would ever become. That was a commitment that we made to the neighborhood, was that we would clean it up so that it was habitable, regardless of what the future use would be. And, I think that we certainly should follow through on that promise regardless of what it becomes. At some point, we also had looked at a site along Cherry Street connected to the MBX purchase. Whether or not that pans out, that neighborhood wants the facility. So, it's not a matter of getting in a fight with the neighborhood there, other than the use of a small corner of it. If that's still an option, that was very, very well received in District 7, was to have that facility up by us. So, lots to think about in INF.
Yep, absolutely. Anything else on this? Okay, let's move on to the next item.
All right, the next one I put in was just some updates to our stockroom facility. So the problem we have now, obviously, as it's well established, we've outgrown our facility. We don't have space for all of our stuff. And so I just looked at NTC uses this type of shelving in their auto shop, and it just basically gives you more space than you have, because now instead of having an aisleway between every shelf, it gives you the option to condense all of your storage so we'd be able to fit more in. As we currently are, we have parts strewn all over the facility. Some are upstairs, some are out in other buildings. So this would be a way to bring a lot of that back into our stock room and just help us be more efficient and organized with that.
So I know, you look at these high-density shelvings, you most often see those in libraries, and that's where my experience is with those. So I didn't know that you could use these for like parts too, so that they would be compatible with that.
I think one of the things with these, it's good to note as well, if we did move ahead with those, if that was the decision, any new facility, we could bring them over to our new facility. This would not be wasted, so, yeah.
Okay. Oh, Mr. Rusi, did you have a question?
I hate that when they answer my questions before I ask it.
Okay, anything else on stockroom high-density storage? All right, move on.
The next one was the truck wash, and obviously that we had put in for years down the road, just kind of based on our need. Obviously, we've needed it for a long time, but if the new maintenance facility would have it, then that would be something that would come off of here. Along with the next one is the additional sand salt storage building. Same thing. It's one of them things, we would like to get our sand out of the weather. We currently store it outside. Every year we have to put a tarp on it. DNR inspects us every year, and it's always trying to keep, those chlorides out of the soil, so having it in a facility would be better. But again, that was put on for subsequent years.
So to look forward on those two items.
Next one I had was floor repairs. So obviously, with our building being old, basically every building we had has spots that need repairs. We make some repairs every year, but I was just trying to put a plan together to try and get ahead of some of that and actually make some more substantial repairs. Pretty much we're just putting little patches in here and there. So this is trying to fix those up and then also put a coating on them, make them last a little longer. I split that up over the next 5 years just to try and get through all the buildings. And this is something that also wouldn't be wasted because even if we move the fleet facility streets division, we're staying where we're at, so we're still going to be in a lot of these buildings.
So when we're looking at this, we're looking at like a building a year for the next 5 years.
Yeah, that's kind of how I broke it up. I took the more highly used areas first and kind of broke them out and tried to piece it up that way and then move out to the other storage buildings and stuff as years progress.
Any questions on that? Okay. Moving on.
Another one, this is for a subsequent year, so I put it in years out there, but for more storage facilities, obviously, we have equipment stored in multiple locations around the city. We use the old Wausau chemical. We have tons of equipment parked outside. At some point, we're going to need to get more of that under a roof just to protect it, make it last longer, stuff like that. But again, that's for years down the road. And then the next one I had was LED lighting. Obviously, we try and switch out LED lighting every year. We take stuff that fails, obviously we switch to LED lighting, and then every year I do take some of my facility budget and replace more of those fixtures. And this is just trying to finish up what's left and just convert the rest of the facility to LED lighting.
Right, inside building?
Some of them, so the part of this was the fuel island. So we have 2 fuel islands, one of them's been converted, the other one still has the old lighting on it.
And so some is yard lighting, but some is inside too?
Correct.
Okay. Any questions on that?
The next one is a truck scale. This is also something I've asked for other years, just to be able to track our materials better and also make sure that we're not running equipment overloaded, stuff like that. Currently we use the county facility pretty regularly. I don't know how long they're going to be there. I've heard that they're possibly moving, may have had property, but currently that's what we do now, but it takes obviously a lot of man hours every time we make a trip over there and back. And so having a facility like ours would be really beneficial to have our own scale, save time, and then track our materials better. So every year we record on how much sand, salt, stuff like that we use, and we're always using estimates. So it's always we have engineering shoot the pile and we guess how much is there and stuff. So having a scale, we'd be able to better track what we're actually using.
Questions on the truck scale? And is this
This also can be moved. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, because would this be a component of the fleet facility, like the truck wash was, if we were to move forward on the fleet facility, or would it be reconfigured or something like that if we were to build the fleet facility at?
I would want to keep this at the streets facility, so wherever streets is where we'd want it, because that's where we're going to use it regularly when we're bringing material in or taking it out.
But if streets gets reconfigured, if the streets facility gets reconfigured, this could be.
The scale could be moved to a new location. Yeah.
Okay. Any questions on that? Okay.
Last one is just the street division offices. Every year we make repairs, but obviously even when fleet leaves, we're still staying there. So it's just putting in some extra repairs, taking care of all those maintenance-y type things that, we do some repairs every year, but we just don't have enough in our annual facility budget to take care of all the needs.
Okay. Questions on the repairs? And this is split over 2 years. So it'd be $55,000 for 2026 and then another in 2028.
That's kind of anticipating after, if the fleet moves on, then we would readjust where people are at and stuff like that.
So that would,
Yeah.
The 2028 would be like reconfiguring the building after, if fleet moves out. Okay, any questions? Okay, all right. Thank you. And next up is GIS.
You want to start out on the LiDAR? Just
Sure.
kind of go in,
So, good morning. So, LiDAR is one of the requested projects. We've done this in the past. We utilize it both in like the Business Park Trail. We've used it on First Avenue along the river. It's a time-saving item. Wisconsin DOT uses it a lot. And for example, for that First Avenue project, we're able to acquire topo points, if you will, and not have to put people out in precarious situations, if you will. We're also able to extract other data from that, like building and vegetation. We're also able to do storm modeling with that as well. So that's something that we had done in 2020, and we'd like to have done here near the end of the decade here by 2030, if it's possible.
Okay, and that's budgeted for, actually, that's budgeted a few years out for 2029. So our existing LiDAR imagery is good for a couple of years yet, or?
Yes.
Okay. And that, I think that's used, that gives us elevation, so that you can use that in conjunction with like the ortho imagery for a,
Correct. So like our contour lines are derived from that, and that's better. It's a better product than what we have from like an ortho imagery, those contour lines, those isobars and things like that. So again, like our CAD technicians and stuff use that, consultants use that. Just looking forward with like 28th Avenue or any other river projects, stuff like that, we're able to use that stuff and kind of start planning for things kind of in a more expedited manner, if you will.
all right. Any questions on that?
Just one on the timing. Both of those are set for 2029, so they're not immediate needs?
Correct.
Okay,
So these are items that are kind of future.
okay.
We want to put it out there so that you're aware of
I
what's,
see they were marked critical, but if they're critical then I get that. So I think if the aerial imaging that we've done already or that we have on file will work until then?
yes.
Okay, I see. Thanks.
It's just something we want to kind of have updated occasionally so that as
For sure.
because things change, so.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay, any other questions? All right, moving on to the next item. That's oblique imagery.
So for oblique imagery, this is something that we took on, and we've been doing it every few years. Goes back to like 2012, and this is a product that, if you may recall back in the day, it was kind of called Bird's Eye View. And we have several departments using this. And again, it's as much a planning tool as it is used by inspections or maybe other emergency services and things like that, where they're able to kind of toggle around a place or a property and on a day and time. It's captured, in that day and time. So obviously it's not something live, but you're able to kind of have that historic record as to kind of like, for example, with the mall property, you can see how that's changed over the years and maybe what you want to do with that property. So it kind of helps with planning things and gives you kind of a big picture as to what things look like as opposed from just a top down.
Okay, and that's budget, and that's a request for 60,000 for next year, for 2026.
Correct. And then there's tools within that program too that allow you to measure. So you can do elevations, you can measure heights. So if we got street poles out there or street lights, we can measure them to see if we've got different styles or makes or manufacturers out there. We can kind of get some very accurate measurements off of things as well. so.
I thought when the last time we did imagery, it was like a 2 or a 3 year plan, and was that different than what we're looking at now, or?
So the oblique imagery, yes, is different than the ortho. The ortho's more of a top-down, where again, that oblique is more of like a bird's eye view type thing, or it's more of a 40, 45 degree angle.
But the last time we did imagery, wasn't it like a 2 year process or a 3 year process? And
Typically, in the years past, we were doing everything like 5 years.
Okay.
But you're right, Mike, we'd go ahead and we'd, do the ortho, and then the subsequent years, we would have additional costs. Or we'd spread those costs out over 2 or 3 years, so it's not such
Okay.
a hit in the CIP,
Okay.
The last one did take like 3 years of phased photography, right? And different types, but all overhead aerial stuff. But I think we did fund it in 3 cycles.
Yeah, and I think part of that was because we had to, didn't we have that statewide contract that
Yes,
we were in?
we were in partnership
and so
with
we had to
someone else who
commit.
was moving
Yes,
slowly.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah, so we had to commit that first year, and then the photos were taken in the spring, and
Yep.
then once they were done later in the year, the following year, we would go ahead and pay
right.
the
So there was some
remainder.
distance between the
Yes.
work and the billing
Right.
for,
Okay.
okay, yep.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Any other questions? Okay. We'll move on to the next item then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. I believe we're on to facilities.
No,
Is it
my
facility?
software all of a sudden decided it needed to update.
Okay.
I don't know.
Oh, of course. Engineering, I think is the next in the book. Yeah.
I think that's for your information.
I'll go this way.
So, I had put this under engineering, this project. It's the solar project for the water treatment division. But I think it'll also show up also under the utility plan, the drinking water division as well. But we thought it would be best if it came to this committee for a ranking, and then kind of followed the CIP process, because it would likely or potentially be geo borrowing, would be potentially the cost. So, talking with Mary Ann, we just thought it would be best to bring this forward. And as you know, over the last couple of years, we've had some extensive work done on some ideas, some concepts, some size of arrays. To put it that, we've had community input as well, to try to utilize a little bit smaller array and try to maximize the payback. And so in here is the report and the selected option based on the community feedback and the task force that was put together, the solar array task force. So
Are there any questions on Alder
I
Rasmussen?
have just a comment. So when we first started down this road conceptually, there was a fair amount of pushback from the neighborhood, and I'll say that really has shifted, because the ability of the task force to be willing to work with the neighborhood, they were able to come up with a design that the area could get behind, that benefits the plant. It reduces the energy use at the plant.
Yeah.
It was a tough hill to climb, really, to get everyone on board, but there is now support in the neighborhood where it didn't exist before. And, I mean, we heard from Alder Henke, who chaired that task force last week when he was here, but I've also heard from our neighborhood representative who was put on the task force, Paul Svetlik, to remind me and the rest of us, I'm doing that because he couldn't be with us today, that the task force really does strongly believe that an investment in solar at this facility really does make sense, and that the payback on that investment is evident based on their work. So this is one that I think we really should give serious consideration to. We didn't have the money last year, but it would really make so much sense, just because we really did the right type of public engagement with the task force as well, putting a neighborhood rep on the task force and their work was sound. So just passing along Paul's message that we give this some serious consideration, because they really did very complete work. Thank you.
Another funding source might be PFAS settlement money rather than borrowing. I said another funding source might be the PFAS settlement funds rather than borrowing money.
Okay. So, yeah, Mr. Jean?
Yeah, I was just curious how the funding would be. I didn't really want it to get on the rates if we could avoid that,
Right. Well, I think that
even though they'll benefit
previously
by
the
it.
proposal was for the city to pick up the funding.
Right.
So it would be a general obligation debt,
That's
not
what-
paid by water rates.
Well, I kind of gathered that when you said geo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's always been the intention, is if we were to put a solar project at the water utility, it would be general obligation and not, and the ratepayers wouldn't bear the burden of that project.
Yeah, I think that depending on too where we end up with PFAS settlement, I mean, we don't quite know yet, but, too, we had always talked about the fact that we're going to keep finding more PFAS. Like, that never is going to stop, and we've invested so much in the GAC solution. Whether or not we would use some of that to offset what we've already spent, what that impact has already cost us, or whether we'd have enough left to divert something to something like this. I hate to take that type of funding and utilize it for that one-time expense and then realize that that's what we have going forward to address PFAS wherever we keep finding it. So, I mean, that's something we have to be mindful of. I think we should score it assuming it's geo, right? And then if another fund source shows itself, then fine, right?
I think that would probably be the best way to move forward, because we don't have the settlement money yet.
Right.
I don't think we even have a firm figure on what the settlement would be, so.
Well, and we spent 17 million just on GAC, right? So, I mean, we
on
need
GAC,
to
yeah.
look
And
at
if we-
what we've cost folks there too. So, I mean, we got great water now, but it was not free.
And if
so,
we could, eliminate the burden of paying for the GAC system, that would, I think ratepayers are looking for relief, and that would be one way to, reducing the debt load of the utility would be a form of relief.
it would certainly help if there's a future rate case.
Yeah.
Right.
Alder Gisselman, I think it looks like you were, or no? Okay, Mr.
Well,
Wadinsky?
I'm glad to see this finally come forward. We've been looking at this for many years, and as, the neighborhood, and I think as well as the task force is now on board, and I think that if we delay it, it's really going to start to get lost. And I think it is still in a lot of people's memories today with regard to the solar array and going through a variety of neighborhood meetings as well as information meetings and the work that the task force put in with regard to that. I would think that finally should be realized, the work that they did, and I'm glad to see it come, because I think if it gets dropped from now, it's really just going to get lost. And I think this is a great way for the city of Wausau to move forward into the 21st century. And I think that it gives us a way maybe to see more solar array, more ways that we can be using alternative energy as we go forward. And this, I think, is a great start. So with that, I think this is a great idea. Glad to see it in front of us. And I think not only the neighborhood, but I think the city of Wausau is also wanting us to move forward in some of these avenues. So with that, I thank you.
Okay, and then Mr. Wadinsky?
From what I understand, solar is usually a cost saver for communities or for whoever has it. Is this outlay in funds going to be recouped over a period of time, and will the city actually be positive with the solar? And if that's the fact, why don't we do more and incorporate more in maybe some other infrastructure projects we do, and when we build things, maybe include solar if it's going to have a payback?
We had a guess on the repayment, right, in the task force. Was it like 13 years?
Yeah, it ranged from 13 to 18 or 19 years. It just depends on how many, because initially there were tax credits, refunds that we can get, the amount, so, and that was all based on that. And this is a 25 or 30-year facility, right?
But
So,
eventually, we'd be ahead.
correct, yeah.
Great.
Do we know if those tax credits are still available, or?
As of this year, yes. As of 26, we'll just have to wait and see. Yeah.
Any other questions? All right. We'll move forward to facilities.
How are you? Which one do you want to start with?
We'll just go down the list.
All right, yeah, why don't we just, yeah.
First one in the book is the City Hall exterior, it looks like.
So my numbers are different than in your book. I don't know, we don't know, I was just talking season, we don't know if it got screwed up somewhere along the line, but the estimate I got from engineer was 40,000. And that's not what was in the book.
Or for the consultant.
Yeah.
And it's a one-time expense, not multi-year, right?
Right, for the consultant, it was supposed to be one-time expense.
So we could cross out what it says for 30 and 28 then?
Yep, and then
And
we were gonna.
change 26 to 40?
Yep.
Got it.
You guys have any questions on that one? So this would be just the outside of the building, it'd be the concrete veneer. There's emergency steps outside, there's steps in the rear for the employee entrance and the city entrance, the main entrance point.
Okay, any questions on that?
So this is everything then on the exterior, because what about the grill work?
So that would be included in, on the grills in the front window.
Right.
Yeah, that would be included in. That's the only thing that would be included in, not in the concrete assessment. On
And then
in the outside of the
concrete
building.
and what about extending out to the park's really not our,
Right, correct. The parks is not ours. The sidewalks is engineering. They take care of that.
so the front, because I know that there's some work that needs to get done, so thanks for doing this.
Yeah.
Just a quick question comes to mind on City Hall's exterior. The facility is historic, right? So
Yes, it
anything
is.
we do has to follow those requirements and make sure that it maintains its original character, which the grill work is.
Yes, it is.
The
It's
thing there,
original
so-
from the 40s.
Okay, yep, we want to make sure that it continues to have the same look, right?
Correct.
Yep.
So just reading the narrative, this actually, the 40,000 includes assessment, but also repairs. It's on site.
So it was supposed to be just assessments, because I don't know how much the repairs would be.
Okay. Okay, so this is just,
So you have it in as a multi-year
Correct.
budget.
So the first year, we'd be getting the quote to find out what it would take, or the assessment to come to find out, to tell us what we need to target our needs on.
And then future years, it would be the actual repairs.
Right. After we get their assessment back, I would add it to it then.
okay, I get it.
So really, the budget section probably should be redone because the first year would be consulting services and then the next would be construction.
So that would be my fault.
So we'll work on that.
Okay. Any questions on this? All right, moving on. Restore 3 vestibule overhangs at public safety.
So public safety have 3 vestibules. 2 of them are for the city general public, and then 1 is an employee entrance. All 3 vestibules have overhangs that hang over the outside, have decorative wood on top, and they're painted. The paint over time has been coming off and peeling. The decorative wood needs to be restained and revamped. Building's over 30 years old.
Questions on that? Does this include repairs inside the vestibules? I know our neighborhood meets at the police station, and I've noticed a lot of like corrosion in that around the doors and whatnot.
Correct. That does not include that. This is just includes the outside pillars and the overhang.
Okay.
This is scored for 27, right? So not right now?
It was supposed to be scored 1 for every 3 years, so it'd be 26, 27, and 28.
Okay.
Are you going to update that then?
What's that?
Are you going to fix that too?
Yeah, I can fix that too. I have it down here though.
So I think I changed that.
Oh, got it.
So I think what we're trying to do is trying to figure out how we spread this out over 5 years, right? And so I adjusted this over for 27, 28, and 29 in order to kind of spread out our capital costs that we're getting.
Got it.
We had a large request in 26, and so I'm trying to spread out our workload as well.
Okay.
And what
So
can
it's
get
in
done
there
as well.
correctly.
It is in there correctly,
So
yes.
we will,
That can easily be done too. We can.
Yeah.
yeah, so we'll acknowledge this and then consider it for next year. Okay. Fire Station 1 apron restoration.
So Fire Station 1 apron restoration, I couldn't ignore it. I understand the fire department's trying to new police department, but my job is I had to bring this forward to tell you guys there's a severe risk of trip hazards, people getting hurt just walking through the parking lot, walking through the aprons.
We also looked at this as it's the front and what I call the front and the back. And so we split this up between 2 separate years. And the one thing that we're also looking at is the reconstruction of Grand Avenue that's coming up as well. And so that entrance that's on Grand Avenue, trying to coordinate that with that reconstruction of that street, if that's necessary, based on the line work and if things are going to have to be redone. So
So the 2026 budget would be for the rest, for the back,
that would be the proposal, yeah, to do
the back
to do
first.
one side and then work.
I know like I said, our neighborhood group meets there and the apron is in rough shape.
It is in rough shape, yes.
All
So the
rest-
back lot first and then the front lot? Is that, okay, so it's a stupid question, but when that front is, well, I guess even the back, but when the front is under construction, where are they gonna operate out of?
Their doors, they can pull in and out, it's through and through, through and through.
I get
So-
that, but they're gonna deploy backwards, out the
So,
back?
Right now, when they come back, they pull in the back and through the front. So when they get called out, they can pull straight out.
Right,
So when this is under construction, they'd have to back into their spot.
and come out on Seymour?
Yep,
Okay, I see, thanks.
Okay.
a little inconvenient that they back out instead of driving through and through for them.
Well, there's times now that they pull up and back, kind of still back in the front door with, when the vehicle is not of a size that they can't, but
Yep.
They got that
having that
option.
tore up would be, I mean, that kind of need to be in and out and get that done quick, I would think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any questions on that? Seeing anything? Let's see. Next item. Said that would be $80,000 for 2026. Fire Station 2 humidifier.
So Fire Station 2 is the new fire station. I'm not sure if the humidifier got cut for the new building being built, but does not have a built-in humidifier in their living quarters. Everybody has their own little one in their rooms, but those aren't efficient enough.
So this would be central humidification during the heating season.
Yeah, yep. Some of the problems that we're gonna start to have, and if you notice, the veneer around the building here is starting to peel off. That's because of excessive dehumidify.
Dryness.
Yep.
Alder Gisselman, did you have a question or?
With regard to the second floor, the veneer, is that, are we going to see that
You mean here or?
right here?
Yeah, that's on here too.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Yep, that's actually our next item. So Fire Station 2 humidifiers for the 2027 budget. But since these are two related, I guess City Hall humidifier replacement for 2026.
So City Hall has a humidifier. Since I've started, the guy I replaced said he's never known the last time it ran. So when you walk around the building here, you see the veneer peeling off. That's the glue drying up and detaching, or the laminate tops delaminating. Repairing the humidifier would bring everybody at the comfortable levels in the wintertime. People wouldn't have their own humidifier running in their own offices. Maintenance and facilities could go back and start repairing the veneer that is coming off the wall. Here?
Okay, so we really couldn't repair the veneer until we get our humidity at a proper level.
Right, we repair it, it's just gonna dry up and peel back
Yeah.
off.
That's 85,000 for 2026. Any questions on that? Okay.
Question.
Oh,
So would we consider something else beside the veneer? Because if, it looks nice, but I think we could, are we thinking about something else once we get everything organized?
So if the humidifier got repaired and my guys can repair the delamination, would you guys want to repair it then? Get something else if it can be repaired?
Well, I'm just looking for alternatives, and in fact, if we want that look, I'm not sure.
And the fact that the old veneer peeled in the exact same spot. And so it seems like maybe that's just not a good alternative for our facility. I don't
So
know.
where it's peeling the most spots is the common return air that's going back to the air handler. So that is the driest spot in the building.
Just a quick question on that. I guess camping onto what Alder Gisselman said, I think that if we were going to invest in humidification and we were going to redo things, it would certainly make sense that we would look at removal of those veneers and paint those areas.
Sure.
Just because, too, some of that stuff has the look of dark woods. It's not, I don't think it's original to character of the building. I mean, I think that, it certainly would make sense that you'd put up something that is less affected by variances in humidity. So, I mean, we have most of the other facilities in here are painted and they're perfectly fine. So, I mean, I think getting rid of that, first, it's unsightly when it's not on properly. Second, it's something that you got to keep up with all the time. That doesn't make sense. So, I mean, even if we fix the dehumidifier, I'd like to see some other materials there.
Sure.
And with public meetings changing, like the boardroom doesn't get used like it used to get used.
Way less visible. Yeah.
Okay, any questions on the humidifiers, either Fire Station 2 or City Hall? Okay,
The garage door replacement at DPW, this is an ongoing one. I have scheduled to replace 4 a year. This year we were not on budget, so I'm only getting 2 of them done. I increased the budget effective for next year and the following 3 years out.
so we had a garage door replacement last year, I recall, and
And
so
this
we're just going to continue on that process.
Yep.
So the 51,000 is 4 doors.
Yep.
And that doesn't, with the potential of a new fleet, that facility, those buildings would still be used.
Right.
So the garage doors would be necessary. Any questions on that? So that's part of a continuing project. That would be 51,000. Let's see. Standing seam metal roof restoration for building number 2.
So standing seam, this one might be another one that we got screwed up unless Eric changed it. But the standing seams, this building, half of it is being used by the fleet department for their plow trucks. A quarter is being used by the electrical division. And the other quarter is being used as PD evidence, storage evidence. The seams are leaking in random spots throughout the facility. This is a metal roof that have shown fasteners. Some places that it's leaking is in the PD evidence and in where the plow trucks are. This would give a coating on top of the roof and coating on top of the roof that would seal the standing seams as well as the shown fasteners.
Okay. Alder Rasmussen.
This might be, I guess, just a dumb question, but we invested a ton of money in an evidence building for PD. Why would they still be storing evidence down by you? And question B is, we also then bought the oil change place next door, and there was space there, I think. That building had a basement. Like, why is there still evidence at DPW?
So I can give you my answers, what I think, but I'm not sure. I know the Pennzoil building is full. It's full of their equipment. They're outgrown
Okay.
the facility.
All right.
Their storage unit at the industrial park, I believe, is for large storage, like vehicles and cars and stuff like that. This is more stuff for people that are in prison for longer times and that they have to hang on stuff for the whole duration.
If they have room at the new facility though, and that is not full, and their stuff is taken on water at that facility, that stuff should,
Starting to leak in there, but
then that stuff needs to get moved. I mean, if we have room in another building, I can't leave a new building partially empty and then justify an expense to keep stuff dry when we are not putting it in the proper building.
sure.
Okay. And that's $81,000 for the roof on Building 2. Next up, or any other questions on that, I guess? Okay. Jefferson parking ramp temperature controls upgrade.
So Jefferson parking ramp has strip malls on the bottom levels that we are controlling the temperatures. The building automation was provided by a building that a company that is no longer in business. I have to go directly to the designer and the supplier for if I have problems. And it's hard to reach out to them and get a hold of them because we are not, we don't supply their equipment. We're not a contractor. The temperature controls are out of date. I would like to get the temperature controls all on one system, the same system that's on the cities, on all the city has all the other buildings on, so I don't have to monitor two controls.
Okay. If I remember correctly, with the Jefferson ramp, the buildings, the businesses or the suites on the first level, those are considered condos. Would the
Correct.
condo owners pay a percentage of the price of the cost of the upgrade, or is
That
this
I
for like
don't-
the common areas?
That I don't know. That'd be a Mary Ann question, but we do maintain and operate and keep them comfortable
Okay.
for them.
That's in a condo format, we should be able to levy some type of a condo assessment for at least part of this.
For part of it, for the
I know.
non-common areas? Is
Yeah,
that
I
a
know
part?
the city attorney has been working on that because we have been getting some complaints from the condo owners themselves about the electricity and utility usage, and they felt that the allocations were not accurate. So she's been diving into that agreement to kind of look at what the obligations of the city as
Responsibilities.
owner
Right.
of
I
the.
mean, even if half of this gets split, I mean, it's just if there's a way that there could be some cost share on this rather than all public.
So I think it might got duplicated. It was supposed to be for 1 year for 76,000.
It is 1 year for
Yeah,
I
76,
believe so, yeah.
2026.
Yeah, I think we dove into those condo agreements a few years back, and it's a mess. So, but if we can figure anything out on that, that might be some cost savings for the
Be
city.
helpful.
Okay,
HVAC integration for the airport. Same thing right now, the airport has no control system. If we would have a call that they're too hot or too cold, we would actually have to go in and go to the facility and look at it. After hours, that could be very cost effectively on man hours. If I have a problem right now here at City Hall, I can log in at home and make adjustments at home without even coming in. And that's the same with other buildings. This is a proposal at 52,000 to put the airport on one program so I can monitor it all remote.
So this wasn't part of the terminal upgrade?
Nope.
Our
I
budget
did-
says 26.
I did make sure the HVAC company put the higher grade controls in, so it would be an easier configuration.
Well, and I guess this is part of the, this is part of the struggle I have with stuff like that is, first it's the airport, even if it's the terminal, the idea that they would be too hot or too cold outside of business hours, it's not anything perishable. It'll keep till morning. I just can't imagine that we would pay somebody to run down there in the middle of the night to adjust,
If they-
unless it's heat and it's the dead of winter and you're gonna freeze pipes. I get it, but,
There's that, but then airport is open Saturday, Sunday.
yeah. But, yeah, I guess it's not like it's in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's a place we can get to. So, it doesn't happen every day, but this to me feels like a nice to have, but not a requirement,
I
if-
need.
right.
Mr. Wadinsky?
Do airport personnel, when they're there, have the ability to adjust temperature?
They can adjust the temperatures up and down the thermostat. But sometimes there are other things that can go wrong with large equipment that you can manipulate stuff on building automation.
Okay.
If the heating goes out and it's 50 degrees out, I can turn off the outside air instead of taking the outside air in.
Any other questions on this? All right, and that's 26,000. Okay, and then City Hall carpet replacement.
So City Hall carpet replacement, I know you guys said before in the budget there was money set aside to replace carpet, but everything's gone up so much. I had a quote to do repairs on first floor pretty much, and it was only 32,000. Fix trip hazards, repair carpet, and make it safe for working areas. There's trip hazards back here, there's trip hazards in finance.
So 32,000 for 2026, that would be carpet on the first floor.
First floor, second and third floor aren't as bad as first floor, so I believe I'd be able to do it the second year, the other two once.
Okay.
Are the carpets in here continuous, or are they carpet tiles where you can replace bad ones?
I would be replacing the carpet tile.
I would think then you could repair it much easier than the stretched in stuff. Or glued down when it's the entire room.
Yep.
Okay. Any questions on, do you know approximately how old the carpet is? Is this from the original?
This is from the remodel. I think it's all from the remodel.
So that's like 2000, early 2000s, 1, 2, or 3?
2003, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think too.
Now, the public safety flat roof replacement, Mary Ann just informed me that that was in the budget already.
First phase, yeah.
First phase. So I had a budget for 3 phases. There's 3 parts of the roof. There's the main part the PD's in. There's the part above a vestibule, it's a little bit smaller, but then there's a part above the evidence and the conference room. So I was gonna split the 3 areas up, start with the bigger areas and go down through the smaller area.
So then we would just subtract the last year of this, the 28? Because
So
if
it
you
should-
have funding for 1/3 of it now,
Possibly. I had to figure that out.
that's, yeah.
I thought last year we scored the,
We
Yeah,
did
it
score up
was
a third of
funded.
it.
I
funded
thought it was
for,
for the fire station 3 and the airport and DPW. I did not think,
You know,
That was
we
24's
agreed that we
budget.
had to get going on that roof or we were
23's
never
budget.
gonna start.
yeah, wasn't it the roof over the vestibule area?
Well, they were gonna pick which one was the worst one first.
Yeah,
We were gonna just fund one of the years and let them pick which section,
okay.
was what I remembered, but, you know, I think that's one thing that we're gonna have to get a little bit better coordination on, because if we have funding already now waiting to be spent for the first section of that roof and for the chiller in that building, and we don't have those projects underway, we have to expedite that like right away.
Yep.
so the chiller project is going. I'm
Okay.
working on that. We'll
Okay,
Final.
so yeah, and if we can get some of that roof even, I don't know what the mobilization of labor looks like, but, you know, I mean, we have some of the season left yet, if you can get some of it this year.
So if I can't get somebody in to do the roof, I can get the material purchased. That would save a large cost purchasing material
Mm-hmm.
for the fall, for the springtime.
Right. Or, I mean, we can carry it over too, and we'd still have it in 26, 27, 28. We would just have 1/3 of the funding
Yeah.
carried over. I mean, whatever works, but I think for the purpose of scoring, we would just take off one of the 3 years then. Probably the last one.
Take off the
Yeah.
2028
Yep.
and then score for next year and then the following year.
Yep,
So we would still score $60,000, but
for this
Yep.
year.
that would be the second phase of the
Yeah.
3 phases.
Yep,
instead
and
of
one of our worksheet questions is phased implementation.
Yeah. Okay, any questions on that? And we can get a confirmation on if the first phase was actually, if we've,
Yeah.
if we've already funded that, I guess.
Oh, yeah, it was funded,
It was
definitely.
funded,
Yeah,
okay.
it seemed odd to me when I was seeing it again, because I recall that we did too, last time.
And that's my mistake.
Yeah. Okay. And is that it?
I believe so.
All right. End of my book. Any questions on any of these projects? Not hearing anything. And then I have inspections and zoning. left on the agenda. Did we have anything from them?
No.
No
Okay.
requests through that.
So we're at the end.
Do we have all the right stuff on our score sheets now that, was there anything we had to add?
Do we need,
Do we? Yeah, that's, I think, what we're trying to.
yeah, that's, I think we're trying to figure out if we're going to need we might need a new score sheet and
Yeah.
a
We'll verify that and
updated
send that
score
out
sheet?
to you.
Okay.
Yeah. We can email those out to you. And then we can also email the pictures that PD provided of their facility.
Yes.
Work on that. And then I think
Okay.
that's it. Yeah.
And then I think the timeline looking forward, I saw an email from Susan that she needs to get these score sheets back in her hands by the 30th, which is next week. Is that Wednesday? Yeah, next week, Wednesday. And then our third meeting would be on Monday, August 4th, where we would discuss the rankings and make our decisions. So does,
Yep, we should also determine if there's going to be any price adjustments on any of this stuff, because with community development, we had asked them to quickly network with DPW and find out if that parking lot that they needed for the woodchucks
Oh,
could
yeah.
be reduced in cost by working in-house versus externally. I mean, if that cuts a significant amount off of that project, that helps us with our scoring. I don't know what Randy found out about that, though.
Okay. Yes, we'll
It
have
could-
that updated.
yeah, we could have the update on the 4th. Maybe make a mental note, when we're ranking, that there is a possibility of,
Well, and maybe I think what we've done in prior years is we've scored it based on priority, not necessarily price.
yeah.
And then, the price kind of fills itself in at the end, and so if those are less, then we know, like, when we have to draw the line, we may get more done, so.
We're able to fill it, we're
Right.
able to slot it in
Okay.
up the line.
Yep.
Okay. And then do we know approximately what we have available for CIP for coming into next
Oh,
year?
I'll get you your sort of, like, how much we have available. I'll email that to you, too.
Okay.
Okay.
Because that's usually a factor, a percentage of, or a portion of what we're going to borrow for the,
Well, and that figure often is the stuff that we buy with cash on hand, right? That
Right.
figure, and then the rest of it, if you've got borrowing or TID or grants or
Yes.
whatever, then we
We
build
outline
stuff
that
back
as
in
well.
after.
Yep.
yeah.
Got it.
Okay. Any other questions about these, Mr. Jean?
What is the, is it the, not debt ceiling, but the levy ceiling? Is it at
So-
2.5%?
We have not received that yet from the state.
What has it been?
So, but I'm thinking it will be about 2.5%, yeah.
What would happen if it was another percent? How much money would that mean to us? Or a 0.5%? Do you know?
I don't know offhand.
Because, I mean, we're strapped,
Yeah.
and I don't
That's
have
for
to
sure.
worry about that, but I can feel for what you guys have to deal with.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be another tight year. We've got a lot of, there's a lot of need, we've, even outside of CIP, so it's, we got our work cut out for us this budget cycle, that's for sure. Anything else? Otherwise, the ranking sheets are due on the 30th, and then we will be meeting on, I think it's Monday, August 4th.
Which-
Not hearing anything else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion from Wadinsky, second from Jean. All those in